Now I see the live thing. Okay. Hello. This is Sarah O'Connor and Heidi Jordan doing our reflection for this week. Um, so neither of us really had an incident with a client per se, but we both had kind of incidences with coworkers or folks that we work with, and so we kind of applied the Alvarez tool for that. So why don't you go first, Heidi? You can share yours.
Thank you. I actually have, well, in my job, I'm one of the directors, and I have a group of staff people, and one of them, who happens to be my lead staff, is going through her own personal mental health crisis right now. Sorry, I'm fighting with a kitten now, and okay. Sadly, she hasn't been able to overcome in the way that we were hoping she could. We tried giving her a lot of resources, time off, things like that, time to get to her therapist, suggestions of how she could deal with this particular crisis. But recently she was on a phone conversation, and one of our auditors walked in and overheard her having an inappropriate conversation with a client. So that was kind of her last chance. So we're going to have to go ahead and let her go. And I've honestly been feeling quite a bit of anxiety about doing that. It's not my favorite thing to do. I don't really like to discipline, especially with having to fire. So tonight, Sarah and I, all right, Kat. Tonight, Sarah and I kind of made a plan about, how I could do that by recognizing my own identity and the fact that, I am her manager, and that, she recognizes me in that. But at the same time, I want to be able to be compassionate, because she's going through a mental health crisis. And, that's kind of what we do at work. We support people in that situation. So having to let somebody go in that, it just doesn't really feel natural. Taking a look here to see if there's anything. Let's see. Just insights on Sarah and my critical friendship. It's actually really unique. She and I both work in Washington State, so we have that. And she works for the Goodwill, and I work for a company called SL Start that also helps people get jobs. So we both work with people with either developmental disabilities or other kind of barriers. So it's really, really beneficial to have a friendship with someone that is doing the same style of work in the same part of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having similar roles too.
Yes, you and I have talked a lot about how even in our practicums, people aren't really recognizing us for the intern. They're seeing us as the director.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with yours, Heidi, it was really interesting to apply this tool to a future situation as opposed to reflecting, that you can be reflective about your own identity walking into something, as opposed to, I mean, it's good to reflect on an incident after it happens too, but just, I think it was an interesting application to apply this to a future scenario.
I definitely feel more prepared, and that's huge.
Yeah, that's good. So my situation that I shared was really just about a coworker who doesn't share my identity, and we have some pretty significant differences between us, and that I was picking up on some nonverbal cues from her that I was overstepping and being inappropriate. And one of the, well, maybe inappropriate is too strong of a word. I need to be more aware of how I interact with folks. And one of the tidbits that I got from our discussion was, so I was really considering my racial identity as a white person and her identity as an African-American woman as kind of one of the major ways that our communication was maybe going a little askew because we don't share that identity. But Heidi pointed out too that what I was talking about was communicating and interrupting a group of people when they're talking to like interject something really quick, and that can have a lot to do with family upbringing too. And that helped me reflect on the fact that I did grow up in a family where we interrupt each other and talk over each other and, sling food around a table and it's no big deal. And so, my mother, of course, raised me to have manners, but interrupting to interject something really quick was like no big deal. So there's, I think it was a useful reflection for me to consider how that piece of my culture influences how I communicate with people. It's always astounding to me to reflect on what we learn as kids and how, 30 years later, it's still impacting the way that we communicate and work with people. So that was really helpful for me.
Absolutely. And I actually want to tack on at the end that my staff person and I, we do share the same apparent racial identity. We appear to be the same color, and we're actually the same religion. So again, that's another one of the reasons I really was feeling some anxiety about this, is because I try to be supportive of her as a human being. And I think that the words that you helped me come up with are really going to allow me to do that.
Yeah, it's totally a useful time spent together, and I'm certainly appreciative of the structure that it's set up this way to have somebody to kind of noodle this kind of stuff with. It's been really useful so far.
Absolutely. I hope the other kids in the cohort are having the same kind of opportunities with people that have similar jobs.
Yes. That's really helpful. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop our broadcast and send this off so that they can check it out by midnight tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Sarah, take care.
You too, Heidi.